We're now going to transition. I'm going to do this. We're now going to transition to our speaking program. You're going to be able to ask questions, applaud, do all of those things. It's very important that we highlight the work of Magen Adom, which is the Red Star of David. It's the National Emergency Medical Disaster Ambulance and Blood Service organization in Israel. It truly reflects the diversity of Israeli society. It's a team that includes Jewish people, Arabs, Haredim, all types of Israelis. It's the largest volunteer organization in Israel with over 30,000 volunteers. Magen Adom operates 200 strategically located stations throughout Israel, serving as key hubs for emergency medical response and ambulance services, with a network of 2,300 life-saving vehicles, including ambulances, mobile intensive care units, armored vehicles, and motorcycles. MDA is well equipped to handle various medical emergencies. And I want to highlight something that's become incredibly important. So Magen Adom's National Blood Bank plays a crucial role in ensuring a steady supply of blood for medical emergencies. But Magen Adom is responsible for the collection and distribution for the blood to the hospitals and to the IDF. But the blood bank also houses Magen Adom's Human Milk Bank, initially created to provide breast milk to premature babies. And since October 7th, the milk bank expanded its services for babies whose mothers who were killed and taken hostage or called for military duty. So since October 7th, Magen Adom has been operating at full capacity 24/7. So we want to highlight that in our community, and we want everybody to be able to talk about what you hear tonight. And so it is truly my honor to call forward Noah Abitbul, who's a paramedic with Magen Adom, all the way from Israel. So she is here to tell us a little bit about her and about her experience. She was born and raised in Ashdod in South Central Israel, where she still lives and works today. She started with Magen Adom as a youth volunteer at 15, eventually becoming an EMT and then a paramedic. So I would like to ask Noah to please come up, and a warm welcome, please, for Noah Abitbul. Noah is going to talk, and then I'm going to be able to ask some questions, and then I'll be able to take a few questions from the congregation, and you're also going to get a chance to talk to Noah at the Oneg afterwards. Noah, please.
Well, hello, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I first wanted to start by saying thank you so much for having me here and listening to my story and the story of my organization. I'm really honored to be here and meet all of you. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. So like said before, my name is Noah. I'm an Israeli paramedic. I was born and raised in Ashdod, which is quite a large city at South Central Israel. And I'm 23 years old. I actually just turned 23. Well, it's actually pretty long ago if we're talking about this point, but I turned 23 on October 8th. Yeah, quite a birthday, huh? No, we're gonna talk about that. And yes, I started my way in Magen Adom when I was 15 years old as a youth volunteer. And then I did my national service in MADA, in Magen Adom, and turned into a paramedic when I was 18. So it'll be 5, almost 6 years now that I've been a paramedic in Magen Adom, and it is now currently my full-time job. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about my personal story from October 7th and 8th. So what happened is that, we don't get a lot of time off as a medical professional, as a paramedic or an EMT in such an organization in Israel. But for me, because October 8th was actually my birthday, I decided to take the weekend off, not working, just being with my friends and family. I actually, every Sukkot, there's a huge music festival at the south of Israel. It's called Festival Tamar, and it's just at the Dead Sea. So I thought it might be fun to just go and watch some concerts with my friends, spend a couple of nights at the hotel, have some fun, relax for a little bit. And I came back to my home, to Ashdod, on October 6th. So just the Friday before everything happened. And when I come back, I got a call from my manager, and he said, listen, I know that this is supposed to be your Saturday off because of your birthday, but I don't have a paramedic for Saturday morning shift. And we're really short-staffed. I tried everyone else. So could you please come and take an extra shift? I really need you. I don't have anyone. And when you do the kind of work that I do, you can't say no. So I said, well, you know what? It's gonna be an easy shift. Saturday morning shifts are usually quiet. We don't get a lot of calls. I'm gonna come 7 a.m. By 3 p.m., I'm gonna be done. I'm gonna go home, celebrate my birthday with my family and my friends, and it's gonna be great. That was the initial thought. So I work in an area called Lachish region in Magen Adom, which is at the south of Israel. It's all the way from Ashdod, which is the city that I live in, to Sderot, which is, I'm sure that by this point you've all heard that name maybe a couple of times ever since October 7th. And we have 5 main stations. The station that I mainly work at is Kiryat Malachi station, which is a small city right next to Ashdod. It's like a 15, maybe 20-minute drive from Ashdod. So October 7th, I was driving to my not planned morning shift, but the one that I was willing to take. And it was 6:30 in the morning. I was just at the exit of Ashdod. And I saw some cars in front of me starting to pull to the side of the road and stopping their vehicles. And to be honest, I really didn't think much of it. Usually, something that you might need to know is that Ashdod has suffered many, what we used to call them, not wars, but military operations that we used to get rockets being fired at us. I had my first military operation when I was 8 years old growing up in Ashdod, and we've had one, I think, every summer ever since, so at least once a year. And every time that we get one of those, there's a little bit of a heads up from the army. You can hear that something happened on the news, and you know just to somewhat expect that something will happen. But on that Saturday, it caught us totally by surprise. We had no idea what was going on. So I really didn't think much of it when I saw those cars pulling to the side of the road. And I was in my car. It was a beautiful Saturday. I was blasting music in my car, windows closed, just having a really good time. And then so I couldn't hear anything that was going on outside. And then thank God for my Magen Adom app, I got a notification from our dispatch. And it was a really short but intense notification. They just said, notice that there are rockets being fired all over the area, period. And my first thought was that sent by a mistake? I mean, did someone try to make a joke and accidentally spread it through the whole region because it's not funny? So I opened the window a little bit and I heard the siren outside, stopped my car at the side of the road, went to get somewhere safe, and then continued driving to my shift again, having no idea what was going on or what's the extent of the whole event, really thinking, okay, we're gonna have a couple of days, maybe a week of another military operation. I know it sounds weird, but we're really used to it. So I was like, okay, fine. So it's gonna be an intense couple of days, but I mean, you get used to it. I arrived to Kiryat Malachi station at about 7 a.m. in the morning, and like a good Israeli, I opened the news first thing, and I saw that rockets were fired not only at the south of Israel, but all over Israel, which is very, very unusual. And a couple of minutes later, we found out that there are terrorists invading the kibbutzim at the border with Gaza and Sderot. And that's when we realized that we're dealing with something much, much bigger than we've ever dealt with. And I'm gonna be fully honest, I called my mom right away just to let her know that I'm safe and that I made it to the station and that everything is okay. But also to let her know that I don't even need my manager to tell me that. I can just tell by looking at the news that I'm not gonna be home in the next 8 hours. and my shift will probably be a lot longer. I don't know when I'll be home or when my shift will be over, but I just didn't want her to worry in case I won't come home by 3 p.m. like I planned to. What was supposed to be my quiet 8-hour shift turned into a not so quiet, almost 18-hour shift, which during that shift, I almost begged my dispatch to send me down there to help my friends and treat all of those civilians and soldiers that were hit. But I got a surprisingly actually good answer from our dispatch, and they told me, listen, we've sent almost every ambulance that we have down there to the south. If we send you two and someone's having a heart attack or a panic attack or someone trips and fall on their way to the bomb shelters and they need an ambulance, we have no one to send them to. So we need you to stay here and we need you to take care of those routine patients. So during that Saturday, I treated mostly what we call routine patients, but under extreme conditions. We had to pull to the side of the road multiple times to take cover while trying to get our patients to the hospital. We had to make decisions like whether we stay with our patients in an unsafe house while the alarm goes off, or whether we leave them in the house and run to go to the bomb shelter because we know that our patients wouldn't be able to make it with us. So those were pretty intense 18 hours. And at around midnight, my manager came to the station and he said, listen, I know that tomorrow's your birthday and you're not supposed to work, but it's all hands on deck kind of situation. And I really need you to come back tomorrow. We really need more ambulances and as many paramedics as we can get. So I said, of course, it's not like I'm gonna have a birthday celebration in the middle of what might be the biggest war that we've ever dealt with. So he sent me home to try and rest for a couple of hours, and then I came back Sunday morning for another 24-hour shift. It was those 2 days were pretty intense. During that Saturday, we've lost a couple of our EMTs and paramedics. One of them was a good friend of mine. Her name was Amit, which I hope that you know her story at this point. She was the paramedic of Kibbutz Be'eri, and she was killed trying to treat the patients and the soldiers in her kibbutz. So she's my hero. And I came back really because I felt like I have to do something in honor of those who we lost and those who are still fighting in the south of Israel. So Sunday, 24-hour shift, and just in the middle of it, at around 4 p.m., me and my team decided to go down to Ashkelon to back them up in case something happens. And October 8th was still an intense day. We were just starting to get a lot of the patients, civilians, and soldiers that we weren't able to get to on October 7th because the terrorists were still in the kibbutzim and in Sderot. And about an hour and a half after we got to Ashkelon station, it was already evening. I feel like it was 6 p.m. maybe. We got a call from our dispatch, and they're saying that told us that there has been a shooting event at Netiv Asara, and that we have multiple soldiers that were hurt. We don't know how many soldiers were hurt, and we don't know what's the extent of their injuries. And while we tried to get more information from our dispatch and from the army, they just told us, listen, that's all we've got. It's probably a big event, so you'll have to be prepared to treat whatever will come to you. So we leave the station, we leave Ashkelon station. We're about five ambulances, me and my team leading the way. We're 2 mobile intensive care units, which is the more advanced ambulances that has medications on them and more advanced equipment, and 3 basic life support ambulances that don't have any paramedic, they have an EMT, and they can do basic life-saving procedures. Netiv Asara was still very under fire, and we're still filled with terrorists inside, so we could not go all the way to Netiv Asara at this point. It was not safe. So what we do is we work hand in hand with the army. The army, with their normal non-medical vehicles, they take those soldiers, the one that were hurt, the one that's been shot, the ones that have been shot, and they literally throw them in the back of the vehicle and they head towards us. And we sat a meeting point somewhere in the middle between Ashkelon and Tiva Sara, which happens to be around Zikim area. So we're going there from Ashkelon, they're coming towards us from the Tiva Sara, and we meet in the middle to try to find the safest place that we can find in order to treat and triage those soldiers. On our way to the meeting point, we see an army vehicle passing us by, and they're flashing their lights at us, and we see a soldier, he's standing there waving his hand. And they were able to stop the last ambulance in our row, which happens to be the second mobile intensive care unit. And the paramedic goes down from his ambulance and he walks towards that army vehicle, and he sees that vehicle has two pretty badly wounded soldiers on him. One of them was unconscious, the other one was conscious, but they were both really badly hurt. They had multiple gunshot wounds in different areas of their body. So we're not even on the meeting point yet. And two of our ambulances have to do a U-turn and go back to Ashkelon to evacuate those two soldiers to Barzilai Hospital, which was the nearest hospital near us. So that's when we started realizing that we're heading towards a big event. And we keep moving forward to the meeting point because we know that there are multiple soldiers still coming our way, and they're expecting us to come. And when we get to the meeting point, it was already dark at this point. There are no street lights at all. So we use our phone lights, we use flashlights, we try to turn on the lights of the cars and the ambulance to try and lit up the scene as much as we can so we would be able to see the soldiers that we're treating. And we start getting multiple army vehicles. Each one of them carry a couple of pretty badly wounded soldiers. And what we do is we start triaging them, which in the medical field means basically we go through every one of those soldiers. We look head to toe. We do it in like 30 seconds. It has to be very thorough, but yeah, very, very quick. And we try to assess the extent of their injuries, trying to figure out which one of them is stable, which one of them is not, and try to basically decide which ones are the more critical patients and which ones are less. And while we try to do that as efficiently, as quickly as we can, I get a call from our dispatch, and they're saying two things. First thing is, listen, they're saying, okay, you guys, you need to get out of there. You guys are in open field. There's no bomb shelter near you. You have nowhere safe to hide, nowhere safe to go. So if the alarm goes off, if something happens, there's nowhere safe for you to go. So you have to get yourself out of there, your teams out of there, and you have to get those soldiers out of there as quickly as possible so you'll be near somewhere that's safe. And my first response was, well, thank you. That's not helping the situation at all. I mean, it's busy enough as it is. The second thing that they're saying is it's not even better. They're saying, we have 2 helicopters landing about 5-minute drive from where you are, and they're able to get those soldiers to a hospital very, very quickly. But they can only take 4 soldiers. And at this point, we were dealing with 6 pretty badly wounded soldiers on a field. And we have to decide which 4 of those soldiers goes with us on the helicopters and arrive to the hospital quicker, and which 2 will survive the longer drive to the hospital and still make it there alive. And it's a life or death decision. It's not an easy decision, and we have to make it now. Thank God for the amazing teams that I had there who helped me triage all of those soldiers, and eventually we make a decision. And I end up with 2 pretty badly wounded soldiers in my ambulance, and I'm taking them to the meeting point with the helicopters. And it's a 5-minute drive. I'm doing my best to stabilize them, stop their bleeding, treat them for pain. Both of the soldiers were young, and they both suffered from multiple gunshot wounds in different areas of the body, mainly arms, legs. And the younger soldier, which happens to be 23 years old, just my age, had a gunshot wound in his chest. So they were both in a lot of pain. Thank God they were both conscious and semi-stable. And one very, very memorable scene from that whole event is not even a medical scene. For me, the younger soldier's commander was with us on the ambulance. He was not hurt, but those are just the Israeli commanders. He was not going to leave his soldier alone. He was determined to join us on the ambulance and join him on the helicopter and be by his side the whole time. And he had an idea when we were driving to the helicopter. He looked at his soldier and he said, listen, I know you're in a lot of pain, but if you can take your phone out and call one of your parents to let them know that you've been shot, but that you're alive and they're taking you to the hospital, that would be really helpful. And that's a brilliant idea to think of in that kind of situation, because you have to realize that nowadays with the news and social media, everything goes out so quickly. And you don't want to be the parent sitting at home watching TV, finding out something terrible happened just where your son is stationed at, not knowing if they're alive, if they're hurt, what's going on. So it's really best for the parents to hear it from their own son. And that young soldier, he really is a hero. He was in so much pain, but he was able to take his phone out, call his dad, and it was like a 1-minute phone call. He said, Dad, listen, I've been shot. I'm pretty badly hurt, but they're taking me to the hospital, and hopefully I'm gonna be okay. And his dad, you can hear from his voice, he was not prepared for that kind of conversation. He just said, okay, let me know which hospital you're in, and I love you. And the young soldier said, I love you, and he hung up the phone, and he just started crying. Really, really crying, and I've never seen one of our soldiers cry like that before. So I innocently really thought, well, he probably just in a lot of pain. So I asked him, can I give you something for the pain? I have some pretty strong pain medications. And he looked at me and he looked at his commander and he said, I don't even care about the pain. He told us that he was pretty sure he was going to die on that shooting event. And now is the first time that he is talking to one of his parents ever since the whole October 7th event. And now that he heard his dad's voice and that he spoken to him, everything just kind of hit him all at once. So that's why he started crying. And the other soldiers, I'm reminding you, I have all of this is happening, and I have another soldier lying on the bed. He's very, very blurred from the pain medications that I gave him, but he was somehow able to lift his hand up, put it on the other soldier's knee, creating the most Israeli moment ever, because he said that with a touch of humor in his voice. He looked at him and he told him, don't worry, man, I got you. I mean, we've gone through that. We can go through everything. We'll be fine from now on. Don't worry, don't cry. We're in this together. And I look at this whole scene, like from the side, two of our soldiers having this so emotional moment, yet funny moment for them, which is the classic Israeli character. And that is a very, very memorable moment for me. So that is just a touch of my organization and my personal story and our story from Israel. We have, unfortunately, too many of those. But thank you so much for having me here and listening to my story.
Noah, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to take some questions from the congregation, just a few. And be sure it's a question, not a comment on the news or a personal opinion or anything. I know my Jewish people, and I know how we work. So I'm curious about what kind of support you are, and the paramedic, what kind of support are you receiving? Right? What kind of support are you and your colleagues receiving as this is ongoing?
So every time that something unusual, not necessarily as big as October 7th happens, but just in general, something unusual happens, our managers always call the teams that were on scene and they talk to them and they try to figure out if they're okay, if they need to vent it out a bit and talk to someone. We do have professionals working for Magen Adom if you need one, if you need a psychologist or someone really professional therapist to talk to. But the best support, and there are actually studies that's backing this up, is between the colleagues and between our friends. And so let's say I took a patient, a pretty bad patient, to the hospital, and I get to the hospital and I meet a different ambulance team. And I'm sharing my story and I'm telling them what I did and they're telling me what they did. So that kind of conversations, even having a beer after a shift and talking about what we've been through and sharing our stories with each other, that's the best therapy that you can have. And it really helps to air it out and vent it out and get it out of your system.
So you've come to the United States to talk to groups like ours, donors to Magen David Adom, but also to the community. We were talking a little bit about this over a Shabbat dinner. We're in the United States, we're in a propaganda battle. What is the truth? What is the narrative? What is the real history? What really happened? How are these stories being presented and framed, and who's believing what, and where are they getting their news? So I'm curious as to what would you want people here to take away? Right, you are here as an ambassador, and what would you like people to take away from your talk tonight? So they talk about, I heard this story from an Israeli paramedic at Temple Sinai, and I really, what do you want them to walk away with?
That's a good question. What do I want you to walk away with? I mean, we talked about it over Shabbat dinner, and I feel like the most important thing right now that you can do is to spread the word. I mean, stand up for the state of Israel, stand up for the Jewish people, tell people the truth of what we really do and what we believe in and what we stand for. Stand up against the lies that are being spread on us. Stand up for the amazing people that we unfortunately lost during this war, not only on October 7th, but ever since. Talk about our hostages, bring that up, every conversation that you have and that you can. Just bring awareness to what happened to us and what is still going on in Israel, and let people know the truth, because that might be the most important war that we're fighting now, just to let people know what really happened, what's really happening in Israel.
Insist on the truth.
Insist on the truth, yes.
I'm going to add that, at Temple Sinai, we are committed very deeply to helping our neighbors, fighting hunger, working for affordable housing, helping immigrants. We will never stop doing those things. But if we don't support the state of Israel, and if we don't support Magen David Adom, who will? Who will? We have to take care of each other. We have to take care of Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. We have to be able to stand up because nobody else is going to come through for Magen David Adom if we don't. I'm going to ask for a few questions. I'm going to need to repeat the questions because I have a microphone and we have quite a few people who are joining us online tonight. And so I need to say it so that they can hear your questions. So questions for Noah at this point. Yes, please.
So after October 7th, after the horrors of October 7th, the world, we saw how, united the Jewish people were, the Israeli people were, and the Jewish people were. In other words, don't screw with us, don't F with us, or you're going to see what we're capable of. And that was so inspiring and encouraging to see. But regretfully, since that past year, we're seeing a bit of that facade loosen. We're seeing even within Israel itself a lot of division, and some politicians don't even seem to care about the hostages as much as maybe they should.
I'm going to ask you to get to a question.
Sorry?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yes. The question I'm getting at is, do you think that's the wrong picture? You're talking about the truth. Is this sort of inaccurate media coverage? Is there more unification in Israel than is being portrayed?
Thank you. So the question is that after October 7th, thank you so much, and I'm just trying to make sure that other people also get a chance. So after October 7th, there was a lot of unity in Israel. Right now, the headlines show a lot of division, a lot of not the same unity that was initially there. Is that accurate? As an Israeli, what is your feeling?
I look at it like a family. I mean, look at your own personal family. Do you guys, and tell the truth, get along all of the time? Probably not, right? And people are laughing. Probably not. You're probably not best friends all the time. You probably don't lovey-dovey all the time. But when something happens, you're there for each other, right? There's a funny quote on Facebook that says, I would not let my sister borrow my shirt, but if she needs a kidney, I'm down for it, you know? So I feel like that's kind of the same thing. A horrible thing happened. We all got it together and we all supported the one who needed it. And that's still going on. People are still volunteering to support the army. People are still doing constantly reserve duties and volunteering and spreading awareness about the hostages. But yes, there are some division in Israel and some disagreements, and politics is never a pretty thing. And usually the things that comes out to the news and online are not the pretty things because that's what the news wants to get. So we're still united in Israel, but we're like a family, you know? Sometimes we need something to bring us back together, and sometimes we disagree, and that's fine. That does not mean that we're not a strong community and country.
Other questions?
I was wondering, you have non-Jewish co-workers, and what that's like, and also have you treated non-Jewish Israelis and how that's been going?
So the question is, do you have people who are not Jewish working for Magen David Adom? Do you have non-Jewish colleagues? And also treating people, do you treat people of different faith and cultural backgrounds?
So I will answer the second question first, and I will get back to the first one, I promise. As a paramedic and as a medical professional, I treat whoever will come in my ambulance, okay? I'm not the one to make the decision who gets to live and who doesn't. And even if I don't like it, even if I don't think it's fair, even if I don't think that that specific person deserves my medical attention, I will still give it to him because that is my duty and that's what I have to do. And we're here sitting at this beautiful temple during Shishi, and you know, I believe that if someone does not deserve to live, there's someone else above me that will make that decision. So I will do my best as a medical professional, and I will treat whoever will come to my vehicle. It's not even a question. I don't know if they're Jewish or not. I don't know what they believe in, if they believe in. I will give them the best medical attention that I can. So that's for the second one. And for the first question, do I have non-Jewish coworkers? Magen David Adom is actually a beautiful presentation of the Israeli society. We have 21% of our workers who are non-Jewish. They could be Christian or Muslims, which is kind of the same percentage of non-Jewish people living in the state of Israel. And a funny story is, during October 7th, one of the first text messages that I got was from an Arab friend who lives at the north of Israel, who did the same paramedic course that I did, was with me in the same class, sitting next to me, and he texted me like 7 a.m. in the morning. He said, I know you're probably busy. I'm not gonna try to have a full conversation with you, but just know that I'm thinking about you. I hope you're okay, and if you need someone to talk to, I'm here for it. So I do have.
That's an Israeli Arab.
Yes, he works in Magen David Adom, so I do have non-Jewish coworkers, and they're amazing, and they're serving the country. And we've actually, even in the army, you can see that we're losing some non-Jewish soldiers who did an amazing work. So yeah, we definitely have those in Magen David Adom as well.
Last question? Any last question? Then you're going to get a chance to talk to Noah at the Oneg, and a big thank you to Noah for joining us. Really wonderful. A big thank you to Monique for making this happen from Magen David Adom, American Friends of Magen David Adom. Please, please support it. And I wish everybody Shabbat Shalom. And if you could all please come out into the lobby so we can make Kiddush and say Motzi together. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.